On the morning of September 11, 2001, I was having breakfast in my conference room with the Deputy Prime Minister of Belgium, who was also the Minister of Transport, Isabelle Durant. And I also had with me Jane Garvey, who was the head of the Federal Aviation Administration. My Chief of Staff, John Flaherty, came in and said, "May I see you?" So I excused myself and went from the conference room into my office. And as I go into my office, at the other end of the office is a TV council, and I could recognize the Twin Towers in New York with black smoke pouring out of one of the towers. And I said, "What's that?" He said, "We don't know. We've heard general aviation into the building, we've heard commercial aviation into the building, and we've heard maybe the possibility of an internal explosion within the building." So I said, "Well, John, keep me posted." So I went back in and explained to Mrs. Durant and to Jane what I had just seen. And about 8 minutes later, John came in and said, "May I see you?" So I excused myself again, went into my office, and he said it was a commercial airliner that went into the building. So I went up to the TV set. I'm sitting there watching it. Then all of a sudden I see this gray thing go across the screen, disappear, and then from the left-hand side of the screen, there's a white, yellow, orangey, billowy cloud. I went back into the conference room. I said, "I don't know what's going on in New York, but I'm going to have to excuse myself. And Jane, you're going to have to get over to the operations center at FAA." So by the time I got back into the office, someone had called from the White House, said, "Get over here right away." So I grabbed some papers and manuals and put them in my briefcase and went downstairs to my car. And as we were going in West Executive Drive at the White House, people were running out of the old EOB and out of the White House. And I said to my driver and security guy, "Is there something wrong with this picture? We're driving in and everybody else is running away." So I got out of the car and went into the White House, and Dick Clark was there to brief me. And he didn't tell me much more than what I had already heard on television. Then he said, "You've got to be in the PEOC." I said, "The PEOC?" He said, "Presidential Emergency Operations Center, PEOC." I got there about 9:20, 9:30, somewhere in that time period. There's a large table, and all around there are chairs. Between each of the chairs is a phone. So I was there with the two phones in the bunker for the balance of the day, talking to my Deputy Secretary, Michael Jackson, or my Chief of Staff, John Flaherty, or with Monty Belger, the number 2 person at FAA, and directed everything from the PEOC. You're really, so to speak, flying by the seat of your pants. Military assistant came in and said to the vice president, "There's a plane coming towards DC." So I said to Monty, "Monty, what do you have on radar of a plane coming towards DC?" He said, "Well, we're tracking a plane coming towards DC, but the transponder is turned off." In my office, on my credenza behind my desk, I had a monitor with the outline of the 48 states, Alaska and Hawaii. If I took my mouse and put it on a dot, then a flag would come up and it'd say, "United Airlines, Flight 123. Then it would show me speed of the plane, compass direction, tell me all about the airplane. Well, that information is being transmitted by what's called a transponder on the airplane. But in this case, the transponder had been turned off. And so all they were doing was following the little dot on the radar set with the 11-second sweep of the radar. Well, it's hard to look at a radar and then try to relate it to a point on the ground. So I'd say, well, where is it? And so he'd say, well, probably in the middle of Pennsylvania somewhere. Well, where is it now? Well, somewhere maybe north of Baltimore. Well, where is it now? Pentagon City and National Airport. Where is it now? Monty, Mr. Secretary, we just lost the bogey. We just lost the target. When you see one of something, it's an accident. When you see two of the same thing, it's a trend. But when you see three of the same thing in a relatively short period of time, it's a plan. You know you have to do something, and the only way to do that is to start somewhere. And that starting for me was to bring all the airplanes down. And at that point, we had something like 4,638 airplanes over the United States. So in order to find out where we were, I wanted to get them all down. So Monty, being a professional air traffic controller, said, we'll bring all the airplanes down per pilot discretion. And I said, Monty, screw pilot discretion. I want all the planes down. Because I didn't want to pilot over Albuquerque or Phoenix or wherever, because his destination was LA, to keep going on to LA. So he said, we'll get them all down. There has not been a day since Wilbur and Orville flew in 1903 that all the airplanes had to be brought down, or that the skies over the United States were devoid of any aircraft. This was the first time since 1903. In 2 hours and 20 minutes, all 4,638 airplanes were down on the ground safely and without incident. And the professionalism exhibited by the air traffic controllers in working with each other as well as with the pilots they had under their jurisdiction, I just commend all of them for what they did that day. And in fact, gave them the Secretary's Commendation Medal to all the air traffic controllers on duty that day. Al-Qaeda used to always talk about military icon, political icon, economic icon. Obvious that day they had already hit the economic icon, the two towers at World Trade Center. They had just hit the military icon, the Pentagon. So we'll never know, but maybe that United 93 was heading for either the Capitol or the White House. So I will always be eternally grateful to that captain and that crew and all those passengers on that plane that day.